First of all, I want to thank all of you for taking the time to come out and join this discussion so that we can have some clarity on a specific topic tonight. But because our mayor is here and the chief is here, I'm sure if there's a need to answer other questions, they will. So again, thank you for being here. My name is Gwen Allen Karsten. I am the Executive Director for Kent Black Action Commission. And we have been established since 2011, and we're going as far as we can go with what we have. But we appreciate being here in the city of Kent, representing with a center on the African American community, but representing all communities when it comes to safety and guidelines referring to that. So I'm not going to talk too long. Just to introduce other KBAC members, my right-hand operations manager is Mr. Charles Karsten, and his helper is Mr. Jesse Blake, and our media and marketing person is Davis Churwa. He's back there in the back. He takes care of all this. And just to let you know, he will be filming. It's not a live feed out, but he will have the video so that we can release that. So, without further ado, I'd just like again to say thank you all for being here. As the Executive Director for Kent Black Action Commission, as leader, it is incumbent upon me to make sure that our citizens are aware of what's going on in our city in the areas of concern that we deal with. We have gathered here tonight because public safety is not just a matter of enforcement. It is a matter of trust, and trust must be earned and maintained through transparency, accountability, and sound decision making. Recently, the city of Kent made the decision to hire an officer from Olathe, if I'm saying that right, Kansas. This is not just a routine personnel matter. Officer Thompson was involved in a fatal shooting that led to the public concern, legal proceedings, and serious questions about his conduct and judgment. The fact that he was found guilty of unnecessary conduct in this case is not something we can ignore. Our community deserves answers. So we welcome you with your questions, and if I'm correct, you guys will need to leave by what time? 5:40? Okay, so we're going to get right into it. I'd like to introduce Kendrick Glover. Kendrick and I serve as community liaisons for the Valley Internal Investigation Team here in Kent, Independent Investigation Team here in Kent. Been doing that since 2022. So I'm going to start the questions with two questions. Oh, just a second.
Everybody hear me okay? If I could, and respectfully, before we get to questions, I think we really should talk about what actually happened and get the information out there. Because Gwen, with all due respect, I love you. He was not found to have done anything wrong. In fact, he was exonerated, which is why a little bit of our surprise to the reaction to this. So they did, and we'll talk about that. So, because I'd love to talk about lawsuits and what they mean and what they don't mean. Because if you work in government, eventually, sometimes you're going to settle a lawsuit. And that doesn't hinge on what was right or wrong in the facts. It hinges on a financial risk assessment by people who get paid a lot of money to make sure that your taxpayer money isn't thrown away needlessly. Okay, so that's the reality of it. We can talk about that. But so if you're okay, Gwen, for the sake of time, I want to get this out. Because we can get to the questions. I hope that what I present to you will answer a lot of those. Okay, and by the way, good afternoon. For those I haven't met, Padilla, Chief of Police, Mayor Dana Ralph. There's lots of familiar faces in here, so it's always good to see everybody here. All right, we don't have time, so I'll get into it.
Good evening, everybody. I just want to make sure that this gets on the record. Gwen, you and I have had this conversation. So this meeting was scheduled for tonight, prior to the determination whether or not the chief or I had availability. And the unfortunate thing, while we are absolutely making it a priority to be here, we had a previously scheduled neighborhood meeting that had been on the books for many months. That neighborhood was gracious enough to push their meeting back a little bit, but that is why we're leaving. We're not leaving to cut the conversation short. We're not leaving because we don't believe this is important. We are leaving to respect the other group of folks that had scheduled that meeting months and months ago. So just wanted to get that on the record.
Great, thank you, Ben. All right, so everybody hopefully has a copy of this document. And we're not going to go verbatim through it. If there's a need for more, I sent a link and a PDF to Gwen earlier today, so she'll be able to make that available for everybody. Okay? I chose this document because I've gone through the entire file again for Officer Thompson. And in doing so, this document is probably the most succinct summarization of what happened and how the decision about the officer's use of deadly force was looked at and how it was determined to be lawful and justified. So I want to be really clear. It was determined to be lawful and justified. Okay? So we'll get through this. I think the bigger issue, this happened in Olathe, Kansas, KBAC hires them. I think the bigger reasonable question obviously is, so what are the standards when we go ahead and hire somebody from another department and they have something like this where they've been involved in using deadly force and someone's lost their life? And I think it's a valid question. The answer is we have a very extensive hiring process and background check. I will say that there is what the state requires. We'll talk about that real quick. There's what CJTC, the Criminal Justice Training Commission, requires, that we're fully in compliance. And then there's the things that Kent PD does above and beyond that. So I feel very confident standing up here. We did our due diligence, and I stand behind the decision to hire this person. This officer's been on for several months now, and I will tell you he's an exemplary police officer. And if he showed up at your house to help you with the crisis, you would be glad to do so. Okay? That's who we're talking about. Not what's in the news media, not what's been couched from the plaintiff's attorney's perspective on allegations, what the facts say. And I really want to hold on to the fact because that's how we make our decisions. Okay? So hiring. You guys, some of you have heard this before. I apologize. We've talked about hiring. When we get people that come in, all of our candidates go through, entry-level candidates go through publicsafetytesting.com. They have to take a written, and they have to take a physical exam to get on our civil service list for hiring. Lateral officers, even in-state or out-of-state, apply directly with the police department, and we have a different process for them that doesn't include the physical and written exam because the state of Washington, Criminal Justice Training Commission, has a reciprocity agreement where we can take the certification from other states amongst the list of places that allow it, and they can qualify for an equivalency certification to the state. Okay? And many of you have heard me talk about the value of bringing in-state laterals in particular when you're really short for hiring people, right? It's a very efficient way to get people with experience in the door. All of our candidates must go on the hiring list, like I said, and then we do a preliminary background check. It's one of the things that we do different from a lot of agencies. We start with a preliminary check. If they pass that, which includes a criminal history check, some financial stuff, and some other issues that we check right away, they get to go to the interview process. They go to a chief's interview, we go through their entire background, and we ask them questions and have to perform and meet expectations in that. If they pass the chief's interview, then we do the entire criminal investigation, so the background investigation. So what does that include? That includes, according to state law, RCW 43101, these things have to be included. Criminal check of the National Decertification Index to see if they are on that national index for officers that have been fired for misconduct. We have to look at their prior employment, disciplinary records, which includes any misconduct allegations. We have to check with the prosecutor from their former agency to see if there's any what's known as Brady or misconduct or lying allegations sustained, right? Or any issues whatsoever with the prosecutor's office, any charges, criminal things, things of that nature. We have to check for affiliation with extremist organizations. We have to check their social media accounts, and we have to verify their immigration and citizenship status. That's what the law, that's what state law requires. And once we do all of that, and we've determined that they don't have anything that disqualifies them, and we've determined that they're a good fit based on their training and experience, we have to report all of that information over to the Criminal Justice Training Commission. so that they can do their due diligence on us. In Officer Thompson's case, we did that, and CJTC confirmed his certification for Washington State. Thompson, what am I saying? Sorry, Thompson. We have Thomas's too, sorry. So Officer Thompson's certification, okay? What does that mean? That means the state is saying this person is qualified to be a peace officer in the state. Not just Kent Police, the state is saying. Okay? The other things the officers have to do before they get a final offer of employment is they have to go through a psychological exam or similar truth verification assessment, or polygraph, and they have to go through a physical exam. Okay? We also in Kent, not required by law, we administer a cognitive aptitude exam. What we're looking at that is what we can determine in terms of IQ and EQ, both very important for the job. Okay? And we also require that our officers consider doing a ride-along and come out and job shadow for a day. And while they are learning about us, there's a lot that can be learned about spending time with somebody who's coming from another agency and having them come in and go out on the road with our officers in a ride-along capacity. So that's the process. It's extensive. It takes weeks to complete. We do this in person. We check. It's a little unfair, I'll be honest. We call ex-girlfriends, we call ex-wives. We do our due diligence on this. And if there's any way that we can determine the person is unfit, they don't get hired. The fact of the matter is, most of the people who apply with our department do not get hired. Okay? That said, you guys have also heard me talk about this, many of you. In the last 3 years, our hiring, because we've moved as much as we can move within the civil service rules to make sure we're recruiting and retaining diversity, our hiring has been close to 50%, high 40s, in terms of hiring people from underrepresented communities and women. And I will ask you to look around at any other department in this region and find out what their numbers are, because they're not going to be as good as ours. And I'm not disparaging the other agencies. I'm saying we are doing what we say we're doing. Okay? So that's the background on how we hire people. I'll pause for questions on hiring, and then I'll get into the incident.
Right. Oh, you right.
Chief, good evening.
Good evening.
I just got off the plane, so I got a lot of questions, and I'm going to be respectful.
Sure.
And let others get theirs in first. So, on the hiring process, did this guy do a lateral? And you got to excuse my voice.
No worries.
I done moved to Vegas, and I'm dealing. Anyway, that's beside the point. Did this guy do a lateral, or was he hired off the street, so to speak?
But we hired him as a lateral officer from another state.
Okay, therefore his background wasn't extensive as he would somebody on the street, right?
No, we do the same background check.
Off a lateral?
Yes.
Are you willing to provide those docs?
Well, yes, the ones I can. The ones that are publicly accessible, I can. So there's medical, there's psychological, there's stuff you can't have.
I understand.
But the stuff that's available, absolutely.
Okay. When he lateraled here, did you know about his previous background?
Yeah, did I know about his shooting? Yes.
He admitted that up front?
Yes.
Okay. In the report, he knew he was dealing with a 220. And you know what the 220 is from the state of Washington.
Yes.
That code.
Yeah, we don't use it anymore, but yes.
What do you guys use now, George? Or 143?
We went away from using the codes, and a lot of times because it came across disparaging. So we talk about someone with mental health issues or behavioral health or substance use disorder. Our vernacular's changed, but I know what you're talking about. My generation used to do the codes.
Correct. When he arrived on the scene, 2 of them went in. If they're dealing with a 220, standard protocol is 3 or more and a crisis negotiator, right?
No.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm serious.
Why would you not do that if it is a felony arrest that's been committed according to the 911 and what came up on the MDT? Do you have copies of all that stuff too?
Did you get a chance to look at this document?
Part of it. I saw some of it on the plane, so I fell asleep.
Okay. Yeah. So we can talk about that. So the circumstances in this, which is what I want to get to, is they were responding to the sister
Correct.
who had been beaten Okay, beat
Correct.
repeatedly,
Correct.
punch in the face
Correct.
repeatedly, so
Correct.
that is a domestic violence assault.
Correct. And they knew they were dealing with the 220 though.
Right.
Right.
But the fact that the gentleman, Mr. Lynch, had mental health conditions doesn't preclude them from their obligation to get there in an emergent process and protect the victim inside the house.
But why was she still inside the house if she was?
Sir, I don't know.
There's
I
a
don't know.
lot of shakers.
Well, if you look at the history, though, because it's in the press release of it, Mr. Lynch has had ongoing issues.
Right.
Olathe, I think you said it right.
Olathe, Kansas.
Olathe, Kansas, had done what we call an ITA, Involuntary Treatment
Yeah,
Act,
uh-huh.
and he had just recently got released. So they had been successful in getting him to medical services for his condition.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure that played into the factor. But here's the bottom line. When it's a domestic violence in progress, the officers will get in there to make sure that the victim is safe.
Correct.
So there's no time to wait around for 40 minutes for a crisis response team. There's no time to do, and I don't know what their staffing is. There's departments in this state that when that call comes out in this state, one officer responds because there's nobody else. So I don't know what Olathe has. I don't know what their staffing was. They sent two.
So you guys go in and if there's another officer in the room, or he's not there yet, if you hear kicking and screaming, one officer goes in there, kid?
No, not at Kent.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
But I don't know what the late. My point is, I don't know what the situation was Olathe.
And I respect that, but once the two got in and got the lady,
Sure.
they should have drugged her out to save him.
Sure.
And if they knew that they were dealing with the 220, the day before, Charlie 2 step it up,
Yeah.
and then wait until the crisis guy got there and put only him in the house.
Right.
And then a person, because you walk in, like, I know her very well, but if she walk in my house and just come in my door without knocking first, we got a problem.
Right.
And I love you, Gwen. No joke. Real talk, we got a problem. They just bump right in. Sure enough, they have PC for arrest. I get that. But you can don't take a man's dignity and respect and great pride.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? 'Cause there's
Yeah.
another way to handle this. Knowing he was a 220, because he wasn't all there. We all know that.
Right.
But there's a right and a wrong way. What you call a senator, there's a right and a wrong way to love somebody. There's a right and a wrong way to make the arrest
Correct.
for the safety of the officers. That's one of the person.
And I would add, there's more than one.
I agree.
Yeah. So
that's it for now.
Yeah, appreciate it. What was your name, sir? What was your name?
Call me Raiders, baby, because we're going to work.
Raiders? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. It's been a couple of decades, but we'll see.
And you'll see me and Pete Carroll changing this thing around, man.
I'll get to you. I'll get right to you, man. Thank you. All right. Sure, absolutely. All right. Hey, what was said there, I appreciate all of it. Okay. Obviously, you have some informed information about law enforcement, which is really good. Here's what I would add to the conversation. The standard for law enforcement officers can't be perfection after the fact. Okay? The standard for law enforcement officers and how they do things cannot be perfection judged after the fact. What they have to deal with is a rapidly evolving situation, and the assessment has to be, was it within the law, so justified within what the law says, and was it reasonable? Okay? How many have watched the video? Okay, there's a problem. I sent Gwen the links to the video. Please watch the video. The video is readily accessible online. And if you watch that video, what I saw was two officers who identified themselves. They were going to arrest him. While they were dealing with him, realized that he had a stun gun at first. So the officers drew their tasers. And then as he came out, they backed up. They realized that he had a switchblade knife. So they tell him to stop the knives, and instead of having tasers out, they transition to firearms, which is appropriate. They back up. They give him multiple orders. He keeps coming. They back up some more. They give him more orders. They move upstairs to another level up in the house. He keeps coming. They try to use less lethal. They tase him at least twice. It has zero impact. You can see it in the video. He literally stands there and looks at him while he's getting tased. Okay? It doesn't have effect. They back up and they end up in a corner of the house. looks like kind of a living room with a lot of cluttered furniture. They continue to try and tell him to drop the stun gun and the knife. He comes around, he starts walking towards them, and he makes a gesture to move the knife like this, and the officer fires 3 rounds, and he dies. And nobody wants him to die. And I want to say this, please don't take my comments as callous disregard for the fact that we lost a life, because that's not what it is. But we're talking about an issue here, and if you can tell, I want to make sure we get the truth out, because I don't want this officer to feel like the community's turned against him when he did his job the right way. That is my biggest concern to me. Okay? So, yes, ma'am, your question.
My biggest concern is the point of order. You've only got 10 minutes left.
Sure.
And we really haven't heard from you.
Sure. Yep. Thank you, RJ.
So I want to talk about Ken.
Yes.
And not that. And I'm sorry of lost a lot. However, we hired somebody. They had to pay out. I don't need that. Everybody can hear me, Ken?
We're recording it, yeah.
I just want to know how much you guys take into consideration that we might have to pay out here in Kent for
Yeah.
this officer.
Could happen. Yeah. So I hope that this doesn't shock you, but every year, most government entities get sued. And every year, most government entities pay out settlements.
Right, but you don't know that until after.
Great point, but here's the reality. I've been doing this job, as you guys have heard, I'm old, so 33, almost 34 years. If you do this job, at some point, with the way that our system is set up for civil liability, you are going to get sued,
Understand?
right?
I just wanted to ask if you guys took that into consideration when you hired this guy.
His-
Who the city of Kansas had to pay out, or the state of Kansas had to pay out.
Right.
Do we take into consideration? Because I'm thinking about kids
Yes,
and our tax money.
right.
Going because it's our tax money.
It
that
is.
pays out.
The challenge with the process, though, is this. It costs you zero money to file a lawsuit when the attorneys are willing to take it on contingency. Okay? However, it costs the city hundreds of thousands of dollars to defend that lawsuit, sometimes millions. Right? Oh, sorry. Yes, the answer is yes. I thought it was good. Okay. Yeah, we did. But I do want to look at this because you bring up the lawsuit, right? So in this, their financial risk analysis, attorneys, people much smarter with math degrees that I don't understand, they look at this, and what they do is they provide a recommendation to the leadership. And what they say is your exposure, should you lose this lawsuit, is this many millions of dollars. We have a good chance, we have a good case, but if you don't know, in civil law, it's a preponderance of the evidence, which means they just have to prove their point, their facts, 1% better than you were, 1%. And you go from cost of a settlement to tens of millions of dollars. Okay? And that happens in every city. That happens here in Kent. Right? So if we were to say that we're going to make hiring decisions based on we may get sued, and we won't hire anybody. That's the bottom line. Right? Look at what they paid out. In the settlement, if you don't know this, about 33% minimum goes to the attorney. Right? To 40%. So I understand your point. Okay? In this settlement was $625,000, $225,000 of that went to an attorney. And the actual settlement was $500,000. In today's money, in today millions of dollars a lawsuit, what that tells me is that their risk was lower than normal. That the facts supported the city. And if they determined probably it was cheaper to pay this settlement than to fight it and take the risk. That does not mean the officer did anything wrong. Remember, it was cleared by the DA. You have the document. It was cleared by an independent investigation team, much like the one you two sit on. And it was cleared by an internal investigation review. It was cleared 3 different levels. Okay. Kendrick, question.
Thank you.
This one's going to be rough.
No, it's not. This is Kendrick Glover here of Glover Empower Mentoring here in the city of Kent. I'm community all day, all the way. And you alluded to the internal investigation team that myself and Ms. Gwen sits on. And I just wanted to know, is there something like that in terms of the new hires or newly recruits that are coming into KPD for opportunities like, community members like myself and Gwen to sit on, to review new hires or transition or lateral moves before they get, recommended to the Kent City Council and then on to the mayor's desk?
So thank you for the question, and I understand. So I'll put it like this. We're talking about trust, right? I'm the chief of police. I make hiring decisions for our department. I would stand behind my reputation, right here looking at you all in the face, that I've demonstrated and earned your trust, okay? So we would be deviating from our normal practice and be up against a significant, probably union fight to open this up, our process and the way we hire outside of what we normally do. We would also have to change what we do with civil service. So one of the things I left out is that the law dictates that we follow rules. They're called civil service rules in hiring. They're meant to ensure that we have equitable processes without discrimination. And so that I can't gerrymander the process, right? So that would be something we would have to go and change. Okay, so a little bit of history, Kendrick, real quick. We used to do this. In fact, there's people in the room that can remember when we used to do this. And what happened was we could not sustain it. The rate, we are a big enough agency now that somebody would basically have to be on call 5 days a week to be able to be available to do interviews. And what we found out was that couldn't work. Most people couldn't keep up with that. So we tried it. To go back to it, when we changed our rules, we'd have to go back to it. What I am saying here is that the question about this particular officer, from all accounts, nothing, I don't think if you sat on the board, it would have changed the outcome. This officer should have been hired and hired. Okay, thank you, Kendrick. Sir, Mr. Jones.
Is it a way that when you get ready to hire an officer, like the one you get hired?
Yes.
And the problem it could cause, like we said here now, if you kept it when whatever, Kendrick know who you were hiring, and they notified the members, the city, the congregation, what was going on, you wouldn't be in anything.
I understand your point. So, to that point, sorry, did you have more?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, but I'll shut up.
So, in the future, I would figure out a way with Gwen and Kendrick, when you're going to hire someone with that background, to let the members know what you're doing. With all the crap that's going on in this world today, you can solve some of this stuff, be up front and let people know what you're doing. And you won't have to come out here and explain all this stuff.
Right.
Take a look at it. That would help you out. I wouldn't be here if people feel it.
Sure.
And I'll tell you, our cousin sitting right here, she knows I would ride her case when she would do something on limit I don't like. She knows I do it. And that's where we all going to be able to get along, communicate. If you don't communicate, you're going to have problems.
Right. So, I appreciate what you're saying. And I agree that communication is the key. I'll go back to what I was really worried about for this meeting, the way that it came about. I want you to imagine what it looks like to be the only city in the state, maybe in the country, who goes and says, hey, we're hiring this officer, he shot and killed somebody, and puts it out to the community. What does that look like to people who want to work here? Does that look like a welcoming city that's going to have your back as a police officer? It doesn't. What it says is, I'm going to have a target put on me. Before I step foot in Kent and do anything good for the community, I've been labeled. we won't be able to hire anybody if we do that. And I don't think it's the right thing to do. Who we hire and what they're about is publicly disclosable. You can get all of that information minus the medical stuff we talked about and some confidential stuff by law. What I am saying is verify what I do to hire people. Look at all of it, scrub it, scrutinize it. But I do not want to get into a place where we put a special category of notification for individual employees. That is a really bad idea if you want to hire people.
I think that what some folks may be bothered by is if we know someone has been engaged in something like this, is it because we need officers that weighs in so heavily that we cannot even take into consideration? Yes, if you tell the people about this situation, anybody would want to have a person who has not committed anything. And we can go back and forth about the history of this. I found some information that you haven't mentioned. The court found the plaintiff allegations that the officer recklessly escalated the situation by shooting at and agitating a person in mental health crisis, sufficient to let the lawsuit continue.
Sure.
A jury trial was scheduled. It did not happen because they paid the person off or paid the suit off.
Right.
So what we're trying to get to is, if in your mind this may cause something in the community, why would you hire this person? Was he the only person that you could have hired? Was there a quota? I don't know this. Was there a quota or something that you had to meet that you felt, well, we'll just go ahead and give this guy a chance? That, to me, is one of the issues that people don't quite understand.
Right.
Why do we have to have that kind of element? I don't care if the guy moved from Olathe to Seattle. So we don't, how long was it before he applied?
Sure.
We don't know any of that stuff.
Right.
So that's what
So-
some folks might be questioning.
You touched on something I was hoping, and sorry I'm going to get to it, but
My question is actually
Sir.
almost hurt, but just a little.
okay, let's do both. So, like we talked about on the phone, that article that everybody's reading where the judge said these things. Here's how civil lawsuits work. When the judge reviews the facts and is considering whether or not to allow a lawsuit to go to a jury trial for the airing of the facts, they are required by court rule to look at the allegations put forward by the plaintiff's office and look at them in a light that is most favorable to the plaintiff, the victim, if we're calling that here, okay? The deceased. They're required to give more weight to what's being alleged, even though the facts haven't been ironed, and make a decision based on that. So in a lawsuit, more often than not, the judge is going to agree with the plaintiff at that moment, knowing that a full trial and airing the facts has to occur to confirm what actually happened. So if you read the first part of that, it says, the judge says, airing, looking at it basically with the facts most, favorable to the plaintiff, thank you. I rule that this could have occurred and I'm ordering a jury trial. When people read that in a newspaper and it's cut and paste, they don't realize the judge has to look at it that way. They don't realize that the allegations are written by whom? Oh, that's right. The guy who got $250,000 from this claim. And then none of the facts have been contested in court. None. So that makes great newsprint media, Steve. It does not make good fact. Okay? Also, going back to the hiring thing, we need to be, I don't know how to get this across. Supporting law enforcement can't only be when we want to hold them accountable. That's part of it. But supporting law enforcement, my message to all of you is this. Supporting law enforcement also means when they have gone through the process, when they have been scrutinized, when they've been held accountable, and the facts determine that they did the right thing, we need to stand up and support those officers. We have a process that says it was the right thing.
Right, but
We gotta go. Yeah. Okay. Yes, sir. You've been waiting patient. Go ahead. We'll take this last one and we gotta go.
first of all, my name is Christian Cervantes. I'm a resident of Auburn Park, still King County. I've been a member of the community for about 10, maybe 12 years. A homeowner here, and even though I've been slacking on my civic engagement, it is fun to be here.
Okay.
But it was anything but reading that article. And the moment I read that everything happened in 2 minutes and 50-ish seconds, I mean, I feel you, man. It's not an easy job to be a cop and walk up to someone who is threatening your life, the life of his loved one, and with the risk of going out into the community and hurting others. I am not a huge proponent of deadly force myself, but I do see the need for it, especially coming from Mexico, where I was born. I'm also an immigrant here.
Okay.
So my question, I mean, because of a lack of time, man, lack of civic engagement, I took a little bit of time to read about your philosophy as a police chief, and even the major's philosophy as a leader of our community. And my question, I'll summarize it like this, and it goes with what this kind lady asked you. So, say you take the person that you hired, who was the main, well, he was a shooter, and then take your second option that you had at your disposal in the hiring process. What did you see on number one that took the job that you didn't see on number two? I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Sure. And that's not, so thank you for that. Thank you for your civil engagement. That's not what happened. We didn't pick him over picking somebody else. No, hold on. Let me finish. He came up in the service order. We are required to go in order, by the way. That's one of the rules. And we looked at him, and he was qualified and a good person to hire. Trained up, not completely ready to hit Washington streets because we had to make sure he knew Washington laws. But in terms of training experience and background, and his record, and his accommodations, and his medals, and his evaluations, and all that went into his background, everything indicated that this was a good human being, number one, because you know that's my first priority, and number two, he's a good police officer. The question I have for you is, are you saying to me that because he did the right thing and someone died because he did the right thing, we shouldn't hire him?
You're saying he did the right thing?
Yeah, Olathe Kansas says he's doing the right thing.
My question, that was not even my question.
So.
I asked, okay, so it sounds like you even maybe didn't have access to the applicant's information on the second that they didn't get. My question is,
I'm not following the second bit.
did you have access to the file report before the top two applicants to this position?
There were multiple applicants. We run lists of like 50, 60 people.
I imagine it came down to maybe 2, 3, 4 who you pick at the end and maybe go to city council. I don't know the process.
Sure.
But I imagine there was at least a right?
No.
Candidates?
No. There's a list of people, and we work through the list that continually gets refreshed.
These 50 people you said that applied,
Right.
I would assume that there was a process to pick out the most, the applicants that fit the process. Or the cities.
Right, but I can't go and just cherry pick people. We have a list. So let me finish explaining before you ask the question again. We have to go through a list in order by civil service rules. And I have to justify why we're going to go over people. So if he's up, we evaluate this person on his own merits. And if they don't qualify, we move on to the next. And I can go, there are rules that say I can go 5 deep, but I have to go with the people that are in ranked order. So,
This officer, this incident happened 2 years ago. So everybody
3 years ago.
apply. Everybody after they apply, after they So nobody's new has applied for 2 years.
I don't, yeah, of course they have.
That's what it's got to be, because if he's up, right? If he's up, that means everybody has applied after him. And how long ago did this happen?
No.
2 years ago.
Oh, okay.
So maybe we want a rotation from top to bottom. That means everybody was after him and everybody.
They were ranked lower than him.
And it could be my name there, so as part
Sure.
of the
Yeah.
selection process. But
Right.
I imagine, I mean, just based on my opinion and experience, usually we have a top three candidates and discuss it with the management. Hey, man, who do you think
Sure.
would be the best fit for our philosophy or the mission and vision of our faith?
Right.
Now, I would hope that you in the city at least has a process similar to that where it's discussed among multiple individuals before a decision is made.
Yeah, with me making the ultimate decision, but it's not the numeric way that you said. It's not that we chose one over the other. It's an ongoing process. We have people that are going to get interviewed next week for a job, right? And we just keep refreshing the list because we're always hiring. So it's not a we pit one against the other. The other thing is, I'll be straight. My job is to assess the candidate in front of me, and the candidate in front of me qualified and is a good police officer. And in the months that he's been on the job, is a good police officer. We've got compliments and words of praise from him. We've done social media posts on him because he does a good job. The prosecutors love his case reports, his ability to write warrants. Community members like his affect and the way he treats them as though they care. I'm not making this up. This is a good person.
Could I?
Sure. Go ahead, we gotta go, but yeah.
I know you gotta go, that's why I want to be up here this
All right.
side. And you know that I've been in the trenches alongside Kent PD, working my tail off to try to get the community and the police department closer together so that we can win together.
Sure. So,
And time and time again, I spoke to the command staff, I spoke to patrol, and we've had some very contentious meetings early on. But the meetings seemed to mellow out once I made my statement that my objective was to make sure that every police officer that meets the call in the morning goes home to their family at night. And my objective is that every citizen gets that same opportunity to go home to their family at night. And I also always make the point that once you have a person in custody, the threat has been eliminated. That is a citizen now that you're dealing with. Here's my concern. What brought me out tonight is we've been working for years for trucks. Working for trucks. And my first reaction to this was, oh my goodness. Now, some of the stuff that I say to the young people, I almost sound like a fraud with this kind of news going around. I'm not going to try to adjudicate or re-adjudicate this case here because I don't know enough. I didn't sit on any jury and I didn't listen to all the evidence. But I know the people here need to express this because you have to process people's feelings to get to the problem solving. My thing is, Chief, you made my job harder. I know not on purpose, but I just want you to think about the cause and effect when you make a decision. I'm not going to say you made a wrong decision. Time is going to tell. And I trust you enough to still be here because I worked hard to get you removed, and I didn't think you were honestly trying to do the right thing. But the thing is, think about all of us out there leading the community and have to say with a straight face you need to live your life in cooperation with the police. Because when I call 911, I expect you to come out. You know. So I thank you for hanging in here and thanks everybody for finally letting me speak. So that's my side.
thank you. I have huge respect for you, of course. Let me say this in terms of information, and then we do have to go. One, I heard you when I'll come back anytime, right? I don't always get invited, but I'll come back anytime. Let's get it on the schedule ahead of time, because the mayor and I do a lot of community engagement. And this is my point. It segues right into it. I am in the community all the time. She's even more, right? Talk about not having a life. The mayor doesn't have a life. right? She's always working, always in the community. We're going to a community event. We had 63 events for National Night Out in every community. We've done multiple drinks in the driveway, coffee with the chief. We've had multiple city council meetings. Steve Hunter's first article came out in March. You know how many people approached me, called me, raised concern about the article in March? Right.
But we're here now.
Okay. No, hold on. This is a perspective thing. 63 events. You know how many times this issue was raised, the concern that we were not hiring the right person and we were hiding something from the community came up? 0. We're going to go to a community event that was planned just down the street from here. And you know how many times this issue is going to come up? 0. And before someone says that we are a different perspective because we're the black community, I want you to know that there was incredible diversity in all, nearly 100 community groups that we talked to since the time that we hired this officer.
There could be a lot of factors because, somebody has to do something. But we, this community, these are just a few of the people that are. We have an obligation to make sure we do things to bring the community to the table, to do the affairs to the table if necessary, so that we can feel like we're being heard. We don't know the other communities you mentioned. We don't know what their thought process is. So what we're asking is to give us the respect to know and feel that we have a right to know what's going on.
Sure, which is why we're here today, right? But hold on, we got to go. So we got to time out. So with that though, when the thing about it is, my ask is this: let's not set it up this way where we're bought into media. No offense, Steve, right? Let's not buy into a media story as your truth. I would strongly encourage you to not let a media story be what your truth is. And so if that's what happens, we're going to have this type of conversation again. Let's have a conversation. When you call me nights, weekends, I've answered phones when I've been in vacation in Mexico. A phone call. It's not a disrespect thing. A simple phone call, and we probably would have alleviated 90% of the concerns there.
But the thing about it,
To be
I
honest.
didn't know about this. I didn't know anything.
But you
until
have my
the
number.
article came
You
out.
have me on speed dial.
But I didn't
Right?
know.
So
that's my point.
But you can
don't
ask
know.
them.
I can ask you. But these people don't have, most of them don't have that access like you and I have.
Right.
And so as a leader in this community, it's been incumbent upon me to do what I can to give them some voice. So regarding you and the mayor, you guys have to go. We will continue this conversation. If you guys want to get anything on the record, we can do that. So we thank you for your time. And we hope that your next meeting is successful.
Next time,
And
don't
we'll
tell
see
all
you
the
soon.
stories. Just answer the question. You don't have to tell the stories.
I'd like to get the facts out.
If you guys can hang around a little bit longer, if you want to say something on the mic about this so we can capture that, we'll do that.